You're standing in a department store, the kind with marble floors, the kind where the salespeople wear black. You walk past a folded white t-shirt, plain cotton, no logo, no pattern. You pick it up, you check the tag, $450. And something strange happens. You feel it, a flicker of disgust. And right behind it, something you didn't expect. Curiosity. Not who would buy this, but what do they know that I don't? That flicker, that tiny involuntary pull toward the expensive, the unattainable, the absurd, is not a character flaw. It is not vanity. It is not stupidity. It is biology. Running an ancient program in a very expensive store, we think we buy things to own them. That's the story we tell ourselves. A better product, a reward for hard work. A rational decision after careful consideration. Wrong. We buy things to signal that we were willing to waste money on them. In the economy of status, waste is the only currency that matters. The shirt isn't worth $450. The $450 is the point, and by the end of this, you'll understand exactly who set that price and exactly why it works on all of us. Every single time. Meet Aisha. Aisha is 31. She works in operations at a mid-sized tech company. She is sharp, disciplined, and quietly ambitious. Last spring, Aisha got a raise, $20,000 more per year. After tax, that's roughly $1,400 per month. She sat with it for a week. She ran the numbers. She opened a spreadsheet. Then she signed a lease on a new apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows, a rooftop pool, a lobby with a water feature, a building that charges $1,200 more per month than where she had been living. She has used the pool twice. From the outside, this looks like a reward. Aisha worked hard. Aisha moved up. This is what moving up looks like. But sit with the geometry of that decision for a moment. Her raise was $1,400 a month. Her new rent premium is $1,200. She kept $200 and spent the rest buying proximity. Not square footage, not amenities. Proximity. Economists have a word for what Aisha actually purchased. They call it a positional good. A positional good has a specific characteristic. Its value is not intrinsic. It does not make your coffee taste better. It does not keep you warmer in winter. Its value exists entirely in relation to other people. Aisha didn't buy an apartment. She bought a zip code that sends a signal before she says a single word. A zip code that separates her from the people she is quietly, privately afraid of becoming. We think Aisha is moving up. She isn't. Aisha is paying a subscription fee, a monthly access charge to a social circle that will dissolve the moment her lease expires. The neighbors who smiled at her in the elevator don't know her last name. The community the building advertised is a marketing concept. And here is the part the spreadsheet couldn't tell her. The apartment isn't the status symbol, the willingness to overpay for it is. The signal is the sacrifice, and the sacrifice never ends. Now meet Sarah. Sarah earns exactly what Aisha earns. Same salary, same tax bracket, same spreadsheet starting point. Sarah did not move apartments. She stayed in the same building she rented 3 years ago. She drives a 7-year-old Honda. She buys her clothes from ordinary stores with no signal in the logo. She invested the $1,200 every month, without ceremony. On paper, Sarah is winning. But here is the thing that no spreadsheet captures. Sarah's colleagues don't know what to do with her. At work events, she is pleasant, competent, but she doesn't signal. She doesn't code. She doesn't wear the zip code. She doesn't carry the bag. She is, in the invisible grammar of social status, illegible. We think Sarah is free. And she is technically, financially, irrefutably, but freedom without status signals is a kind of social silence. And most people find that silence terrifying. Not because Sarah's unhappy, she isn't, but because Sarah's existence asks an uncomfortable question of everyone around her. If she can do it, why aren't I? That question is intolerable. So the social circle does what social circles always do with an illegible member. They quietly exclude her, not maliciously, not consciously. But she doesn't get the group dinner invite. She isn't pulled into the side conversation. She exists at the edge of rooms, a presence without a signal, a person without a rank. And here is the dark truth the status economy runs on. Aisha knows this. Somewhere, below the spreadsheet and the raise and the rooftop pool, Aisha is not buying luxury. She is buying legibility. She is buying the right to be seen, to be placed, to be included in a social grammar that most people are so embedded in, they have forgotten it is a choice. Sarah made a different choice, and she will spend years being quietly punished for it by people who can't explain why her freedom makes them so uncomfortable. In 1899, a Norwegian-American economist named Thorstein Veblen published a book. He called it The Theory of the Leisure Class. The book made an observation so obvious that the entire field of economics ignored it for decades. For most goods, demand falls when price rises. You price something too high, and people stop buying it. Basic. But Veblen identified an exception. A class of goods where the opposite is true, raise the price, and demand goes up, not because the product improved, not because the market changed, but because the higher price is the product. We now call these Veblen goods, and they are everywhere. A $38 bottle of olive oil next to a $9 bottle, identical farms, identical harvest. The $38 bottle outsells the $9 bottle in premium grocery stores, not because it tastes different, because it signals different. A Swiss mechanical watch that keeps worse time than your phone. A car whose primary mechanical advantage over a cheaper model is the sound the door makes when it closes. A hotel room that costs 4 times the room below it because it is 20 floors higher. These are not irrational purchases. They are a perfectly rational response to an irrational game. We think luxury brands sell products. They don't. They sell status barriers. A luxury brand's entire business model depends on one thing: exclusion. If everyone could afford it, no one who currently owns it would want it. The value is not in the object. The value is in the distance the object creates between you and everyone who doesn't own it. This is why luxury brands destroy unsold inventory. Burberry burned $37 million worth of merchandise in 2018. Not to protect patents, not for legal reasons, to protect scarcity, to protect the signal, because a $2,000 handbag in a clearance bin is not a $2,000 handbag anymore. It's just a bag. Here is where it gets strange. In 1975, the biologist Amos Zahavi proposed something called the handicap principle. He was trying to explain the peacock's tail. It is massive. It is heavy. It makes the peacock slower. It makes the peacock more visible to predators. By every measure of survival, it should not exist. But it does because peahens select for it. Zahavi's insight was this: the tail's very uselessness is the point. A peacock who can survive with that tail is signaling genuine fitness. The handicap is the proof. And here is the part that biology textbooks don't say out loud. For a signal to be believed, it has to hurt. That is the entire mechanism. A signal that costs nothing proves nothing. Anyone can say they are strong. Only the genuinely strong can drag a 4-foot tail through a predator-filled forest. Economists call this a costly signal. Biologists call it an honest signal. The peacock cannot fake the tail. The tail either grows or it doesn't. The cost guarantees the truth of the message. Now apply that logic to a $450 t-shirt. If the shirt cost $25, anyone could buy it. The signal would carry no information, but at $450, the purchase self-selects. It filters. It says, I have enough surplus that this amount of waste does not register as loss. The pain of spending is the point. We think status spending is irrational. It isn't. It is ruthlessly, mechanically rational for the person sending the signal. The irrationality belongs to the person who believes the signal is about the product. The $450 t-shirt was never about fabric. It was always about the audience. It was always about broadcasting to a very specific group of people that you live in a world where $450 disappears without consequence. This is why the signal must be visible. A $450 donation to a charity carries equal financial cost, but no one sees it. It cannot be worn. It cannot be placed in a lobby. It cannot be driven down a street. The display is non-negotiable. A handicap no one witnesses is just a loss. The marketing industry understood Zahavi's principle decades before the biology papers were widely read. They didn't call it the handicap principle, they called it aspirational pricing. Same mechanism, different lobby. The expensive white t-shirt is a peacock's tail. The rooftop apartment with the pool Aisha never uses is a peacock's tail. The watch that keeps worse time than your phone is a peacock's tail. The waste is the signal. The waste is the product. And here's the thing evolution didn't account for. In nature, the peacock grew that tail over millions of years. It is genuinely linked to genetic fitness. The signal is honest. In modern consumer culture, anyone with a credit card can buy the tail. The signal is entirely fabricated, but the biological response it triggers is completely real. Marketing didn't invent status anxiety. It just found the control panel. The rich have stopped signaling with bags. They now signal with beliefs. In 2021, a researcher named Rob Henderson published a paper introducing a concept he called luxury beliefs. A luxury belief is an idea or opinion that confers social status on the person who holds it, while the costs of that belief are borne by people further down the social hierarchy. Let me make that concrete. Consider the belief, traditional career paths are outdated. Real success is freelance. Portfolio careers, hustle culture. In wealthy, highly educated circles, this belief is fashionable. It signals creativity. It signals that you are above the ordinary. But who actually pays the price for that belief? Not the person promoting it from a paid-off home with a family safety net. Not the person with parents who could absorb 6 months of uncertain income. The person who pays the price is Aisha, who left a stable job on the advice of a podcast produced in a $4 million house. Who burned her savings building a personal brand that no one was waiting for. The new status symbol isn't what's in your driveway. It is the ability to promote a lifestyle that would destroy anyone else's bank account. Henderson identified several categories of luxury beliefs that are actively circulating right now, and all of them follow the same pattern. The people promoting them are insulated from the consequences. The people adopting them are not. Work-life integration, not work-life balance. Translation: work more, but call it a lifestyle. The consultant billing $800 an hour can afford to blur that line. The junior employee cannot. Optimize your mornings. Own your 5 a.m. The person promoting this has a housekeeper, a personal chef, and no school run. The person watching the video has 3 children and a 40-minute commute. Live intentionally. Consume less. Embrace minimalism. The $10,000 minimalist kitchen is still a $10,000 kitchen. The philosophy is the packaging. The exclusion is still the product. The mechanism is always the same. High-status people adopt a belief. The belief spreads downward. By the time it reaches the middle class, it functions as a financial trap. And the originators have already moved on. This is not accidental. Social media has turned luxury beliefs into an industrial process. Content is produced. Ideas are seeded. And the people with the largest megaphones are, by definition, the people most insulated from the consequences of what they broadcast. You are not watching inspiration, you are watching a signal. And the signal is saying, you could be like me if only you wanted it badly enough. The wanting is the point. The gap between you and the signal is the product being sold. Let's go back to Aisha. Aisha is paying $1,200 a month in status rent, not housing. Status rent, the $1,200 premium above what adequate housing would cost. Over 1 year, $14,400. Over 5 years, $72,000. Now let's ask the question the spreadsheet can actually answer. $14,400 invested annually into an S&P 500 index fund at the historical average return of 10.5%. Compounds to approximately $94,000 after 5 years, to $260,000 after 10, to over $1.1 million after 25. Aisha isn't paying $1,200 a month. She is trading $1.1 million in future freedom for the temporary approval of a building she doesn't own. You aren't just spending money, you are trading your future freedom for the temporary approval of people you wouldn't ask for a loan. The treadmill is the metaphor that matters here, not because it implies effort, but because of what happens when you stay on it. You run, the belt moves, you stay exactly where you are. Status consumption is a treadmill with one unique feature. It accelerates. The apartment signals success until everyone in your new social circle has one. Then, you need the better apartment. The car signals arrival until the arrival becomes ordinary. Then you need the newer car. The belief signals sophistication until the belief becomes mainstream. Then you need the newer belief. Economists call this hedonic adaptation. The pleasure of acquisition fades. The new normal recalibrates. The baseline shifts upward, and the gap you were trying to close reopens. Automatically, this is not a bug in the system. It is the system. We think the treadmill is a metaphor for effort. It isn't. It is a metaphor for engineering. The treadmill was designed this way by people who studied hedonic adaptation and built product cycles around it, who knew exactly how long the pleasure lasts and timed the next release accordingly. The iPhone releases every year, not because the technology required it, because the adaptation cycle required it. The luxury bag gets a new season every 6 months, not because design evolved, because your satisfaction did. It faded. On schedule. As predicted. Consumer culture does not profit from satisfaction. It profits from dissatisfaction on a delay. The delay is just long enough for you to associate the product with pleasure, and short enough that you need the next one before you finish paying for the first. The $450 t-shirt is the entry point. The treadmill is the destination. And the people who built the treadmill are watching from the side of the room. Comfortable. Still. Not running. There is a class of people the status economy cannot reach. Not because they are poor, not because they have opted out of wealth, but because they have stopped confusing wealth with display. They drive ordinary cars. They live in adequate homes. They wear clothing without signals. And they are the wealthiest people in the room. They figured something out that took most of us decades to see. The game was never designed for you to win. It was designed to keep you playing. Every $450 t-shirt, every rooftop apartment, every luxury belief seated by someone who will never follow it, is a move in a game whose rules guarantee your permanent position as the player. Never the House, the invisible class opted out. Not dramatically, not with a manifesto. Quietly, they redirected the status rent into ownership. They built the fund instead of the signal. They chose the compound interest over the compound approval. And here's the thing that no one selling you a lifestyle will ever say. The people you are trying to impress with your status signals are too busy managing their own signals to notice yours. The entire performance is happening in an empty theater. The audience you've been dressing for was never watching. The ultimate status symbol is the ability to walk away from any table where you're being asked to pay for your seat. Not because you can't afford it, because you finally understand what you'd be buying. Freedom is quiet. Status is loud. Choose your volume wisely. My name is Clara, and this is the invisible status game.